Once I started my class, as I said, I'm not going to learn more. And here at the count is 53. I'm going to start my class. Whoever stays throughout my class, they only will get the attendance. Those who are not present throughout my class will not get the attendance. Remember that point, students. I'm going to start my class. So, in order to get the attendance, you have to be throughout my class. Okay. So today we are going to discuss about the concept description, the second unit. In second unit, we are going to discuss about the concept description and attribute-oriented induction. What is this concept description? Characterization, generalization, all these concepts. We are going to discuss about all these concepts. So first, let us start in large unit. What do you mean by concept description? What do you mean by concept description? Concept description generally deals with the characterization of data and generalization of data. How these what are the list of characteristics that are involved, concepts that are involved in order to characterize the data, and what are the comparisons that can be done. Okay, how do you compare the data in order to find the relativity between the data, relationship between the data? Okay, so this is all about concept description. In this, we are going to discuss about the characterization and comparison. We are going to discuss about the characterization and comparison. What is characterization and comparison? Before that, what is concept description? Generally, there are two types of data mining: descriptive data mining and predictive data mining. Right? So, in descriptive data mining, what are the descriptive data mining? It describes the concepts or task relevant data sets in concise, summative, informative, and discriminative forms. So descriptive data mining is nothing but what are the concepts that are involved with the data that is stored in the database, and the description of those concepts or the description of the data that is going to be stored in the data warehouse or the database. Okay. So this is what we call about the descriptive or predictive data mining. So it is all about how the data is stored and what are the things that are involved. The description of those concepts is known as descriptive mining. So those descriptions will be not in detail, they will be in consolidated way, like concise, summative, and informative form. So while you see that particular data, you can have an understanding of what kind of data and how the data is organized. Whereas predictive mining is nothing but it is based on the data and the analysis of data. So when you do the predictive mining, you can predict something from the database. So it is based on the data analysis, and it will construct a model which is needed for the database, and it will also predict the properties and things that are unknown about the data. So in predictive data mining, you are going to identify, we will predict something. Whereas in descriptive data mining, the description of the data in a summative form will be written. Then what is concept description? Concept description is nothing but characterization and comparison. So characterization means it will provide a concise and succinct summarization of the given collection of data. So the concise summative information about the given data is known as characterization, whereas comparison is nothing but comparing two or more data is known as comparison of data. This is all together we call as concept description, which involves characterization and comparison. First, you need to provide the details of the data, then you have to compare the data from one data to another data. This is all about the characterization and comparison, and altogether we call it as concept description. Okay, concept description versus OLAP. What is concept description? What is OLAP? What is the differences and similarities between? Concept description, we can say the database or the data warehouse. It can handle complex data types of the attributes. And not only the complex types of data and the attributes, their aggregations can also be handled by the concept description. And this concept description is an automated process. Whereas OLAP, online analytical processing system, it is a it is restricted to small number of dimensions. Complex data types or complex structures are not allowed in this OLAP. Only small number of dimensions and measure types. Okay, and this OLAP, it uses controlled process, the user controlled process, because the user, whatever the since like we were in the starting concepts, we talked about the daily data. So this all online analytical processing system, it uses to deal the data of such type, whatever the daily report, what regular basis, whatever the data is available, only that data can be handled by the OLAP systems. It cannot handle more than a period of time of data cannot be handled by the OLAP. Only the some amount of data, some duration of data is handled by the OLAP. So business processing systems can be OLAP systems. So they are having user controlled process. Whereas in concept description, it can handle complex structures of data and it is a automated process. But here automated process is not available in OLAP. User has to have a control. Has to have the accessing. When the user gives a command, that particular data can be retrieved. Okay. Next one, similarities. What is the similarity between concept description? What is the OLAP and the differences between concept description and OLAP? The similarity is both the concept description and online analytical processing systems both supports data generalization. Okay. Next, the presentation and data summarization at multiple levels of abstraction is possible both in concept description and OLAP. So, data summarization is possible in both the concept description and OLAP. Rather than giving the detail, every detail, you can give the consolidated or summative information about the data in which at multiple levels, both in concept description and OLAP. Whereas interactive drilling, pivoting, slicing, and dicing, these are the concepts that we apply to the cube operations. These are all slicing and dicing, drilling. So all these are possible with the concept description and OLAP. So you can retrieve the data in whichever dimension you want. That is possible. That is what we call interactive drilling, pivoting, slicing, and that's okay. This is all possible with the concept description and OLAP, data generalization, data summarization, and interactive processing of the data is possible both with concept description and OLAP. What are the differences? The concept description can handle complex data types of the attributes and their aggregations that we have discussed in the earlier slide. So complex data types can be and their attributes and their aggregations, relationships, everything can be handled by the concept description. And it is a automated process. Whereas the dimension relevance analysis and ranking where there are many relevant dimensions. So the diamond relevance in order to enable the relationship between the data and relate the dimensions can be possible. Okay. Next, analytical characterization is also possible in concept description, which means these are all not possible in OLAP. Okay. Next one is data generalization and summarization based characterization. Until now, we have been discussing what is this data generalization, what is this, what is the concept description, what is OLAP, what are the differences between concept description and OLAP. Okay, so now we will discuss about the data generalization. What do you mean by data generalization? So data generalization is nothing but a process which abstracts a large set of task relevant data. Okay, large set of task relevant data in a database from a low conceptual level to higher ones is known as data generalization. So data generalization, it will abstract, it will retrieve. Okay, the abstraction process of data. This abstraction can be based on the necessities of the data. Okay, so data generation, there is huge amount of data will be available. In this particular huge amount of data, you will retrieve the data or the processing for the data is done based on the requirement of the user. So user does this generalization process to his according to his requirements. So he abstracts the data from the large amount of data set or the database. He is only retrieving, he is only abstracting the data that is relevant for the processing. That we call as data generalization. అంటే అంత అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ డేటాలోంచి తనకి తన టాస్క్ కి ఏదైతే సరిపోతుందో ఆ టాస్క్ రిలవెంట్ డేటా మాత్రమే యూజర్ రిట్రీవ్ చేసుకుంటాడు. Okay, that particular data will be retrieved. How the retrieval process is done? Retrieval is done from the lowest level to the highest level. జనరల్ గా మనం డిబిఎంఎస్ లో చూసే ఉంటాం కదా, ఒక మనకి బేసిక్ ఒక 3 టైర్ ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ డిస్కస్ చేస్తారు. లోయెస్ట్ లెవెల్, కాన్సెప్షియల్ లెవెల్, హయ్యర్ లెవెల్. ఓకే, లోయెస్ట్ లెవెల్లోనేమో డేటా స్టోరేజ్ కైండ్ హౌ ద డేటా ఈ స్టోర్డ్ బిట్స్ బైట్స్. కాన్సెప్షియల్ లెవెల్లో ద రిలేషన్షిప్స్ బిట్వీన్ ద డేటా, ఎంటిటీస్, attributes, వాటి మధ్య రిలేషన్షిప్స్, ఇదంతా టేబుల్ టు టేబుల్ relationships, entities మధ్య relationships, and the conceptual description of the data. Whereas highest level is user కి దగ్గరగా ఉండే లెవెల్. ఆ highest level నుంచి user can make an interaction with the lowest levels of the data. సో ఇది మనం ఒక 3 టైర్ ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ చెప్పుకుంటాం. ఓకే, అలాగా డేటా జనరలైజేషన్ లో apart from the entire availability of the data, the user can make interactions only to the task relevant data. We can retrieve from the lowest levels. దీనికోసం మనం వాడేది ఏంటి అంటే డేటా క్యూబ్ అప్రోచ్ ఒకటి వాడతాము. దాన్ని ఓలాప్ అప్రోచ్ అని కూడా అంటారు. నెక్స్ట్ అట్రిబ్యూట్ ఓరియంటెడ్ ఇండక్షన్ అప్రోచ్ అంటాం. ఈ రెండు అప్రోచెస్ యూస్ చేసి డేటా క్యూబ్ అప్రోచ్, అట్రిబ్యూట్ ఓరియంటెడ్ ఇండక్షన్ అప్రోచ్, ఈ రెండు అప్రోచెస్ యూస్ చేసి మనం డేటాని రిట్రీవ్ చేస్తాం. ఓకే, ఫస్ట్ వన్ డేటా క్యారెక్టరైజేషన్ అండ్ the first concept is data cube approach. Data cube approach లో ఏం చేస్తాం? It performs computations and store results in data cubes. The computation process is carried out and the results of those computation processes stored in the data cube. Nothing but మనం రిట్రీవ్ చేస్తామన్నాను కదా, ఆ రిట్రీవ్ చేసే డేటాని తీసుకెళ్ళి డేటా క్యూబ్ లో స్టోర్ చేస్తాం. And that data cube is used for the further analysis. Okay, so the computations are carried out and those computed results are stored in the data cube. In data cube approach. Anyway, you know the approach. Okay, next, the strengths of the data cube approach is that it is very efficient implementation. Data generalization ని నువ్వు effective గా efficient గా చేయడానికి వాడే మెథడ్ ఏంటి అంటే this general data cube method. Data generalization implement చేయడానికి ఉండ ఒక efficient method data generalization. Next, using this particular data cube methodology, you can perform the following tasks like count, sum, average, max. ఇక్కడ ఈ రెండు బ్రాకెట్స్ ఎక్స్ట్రాగా వచ్చినాయమ్మా, కొంచెం జస్ట్ ఇగ్నోర్ దిస్. ఓకే, సో the computation can be done on the available data. మనకి ఏ డేటా అయితే మనం డేటా క్యూబ్ లో స్టోర్ చేసామో ఆ డేటా క్యూబ్ లో స్టోర్ చేసిన డేటాకి మనము ఈ ఫాలోయింగ్ ఆపరేషన్స్ అప్లై చేయొచ్చు. వేరియస్ అదర్ కైండ్స్ ఆర్ ఆల్సో పాసిబుల్, బట్ some of them are given. You can find the total count of the data, you can find the sum of the data, you can find the average amount of the data and that particular selected data, and you can find the maximum value of the given data. These are all possible with the data cube approach. Why are we calling it as an efficient implementation? Because it also provides us various computation measures. Okay, generalization and specialization. So మనం ఈ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ DBMS లో ఆల్రెడీ నేర్చుకొని వచ్చాం లాస్ట్ క్లాస్ లో, లాస్ట్ ఇయర్. So generalization and specialization can be performed on data cube by roll up and drill down. Roll up operation ఏంటి? We are going to top down approach. Drill down అంటే bottom up approach. So both operations are possible with the data cube. Both generalization and specialization. Generalizing అంటే మనము out of the available data we are going to retrieve the required contents. Specialization అంటే only focusing on only one particular element. Okay, what are the limitations of data cube approach? Data cube approach lo limitations enti ante it can handle only dimensions of simple non-numeric data and measures of simple aggregated numeric values, which means that this data cube approach can handle only the simple kind of data. Okay, simple numeric and non-numeric values can only handled by the data cube approach, and it has lack of intelligent analysis. It cannot specify, the data cube approach cannot specify or cannot tell which dimension should be used for the generalization process and at what level the generalization process should be carried out. It cannot specify that. It is lacking in that. So these are the limitations. One, it can handle only the simple data, whether it is numeric or non-numeric, and the other one, the generalization cannot be decided by that. Which level gives the correct information, it cannot decide. So that is the limitation of data cube approach. So the second category of database, the approach. What is this approach we are talking about? Data generalization approach. The second one is attribute oriented induction. So it was proposed in 1989. Okay, like the data cube approach, it is not confined to one specific category of data. Nor like we have the limitations with the data cube approach, only the particular amount of data and the simple kind of data can only be handled by the data cube where we have been talking in the earlier slide. But that is not the case in the attribute oriented induction. It is not confined to one particular category or one particular measure. It can handle multi varieties of data, multi categorical data. Then how does this attribute oriented induction is done? First, what does it do? Collect the task relevant data. So it will first collect the task relevant data. So whatever the processing you are doing, whatever the analysis you are going to do, the relevant data is collected first. That is, we call it initial relation, and this is done using the database, relational database query. You can collect the data that is needed for your processing using the relational database query. And then after collecting the data, it performs the generalization. Generalization process will be performed on the collected data. How this generalization process is done? Either by attribute removal, nothing but attribute removal or attribute generalization, which means that when you collect the data, you are going to remove the data that is not necessary for your processing. When you collect the data, huge amount of data can be collected, then you have to do the removal process, which is unwanted for you for the processing that should be eliminated. That elimination process is carried out. That we call as attribute removal or attribute generalization. Then after that generalization process, apply aggregation. Aggregation process is applied. Aggregation means you can also say sometimes you can combine. How do you do? By merging identical generalized tuples and accumulating their respective counts. So what do you do? Once you do the generalization process, then here for that data, for the data that is made available for you after the removal process or generalization process, for that particular data, aggregation process is applied. This aggregation, through this aggregation process, you are going to merge the identical and generalized tuples. These identical and generalized tuples are combined. And then the interactive presentation with users is possible. Okay. So that's how the aggregation process is carried out. Okay. Then what are the basic principles of object-oriented induction? These are the basic principles of object-oriented induction. The data focusing, attribute removal, attribute generalization, attribute threshold control, generalized relation threshold control. Okay. So let us discuss about each one of them in detail. First one is data focusing. So data focusing is nothing but what is the data that is required for us. That particular data is collected first. Concept description is nothing but generalizing the data that is needed for our processing, right? So here in data focusing, what is the first concept that is done is data focusing, that is the data that is required for our processing, for our knowledge. the task relevant data will be constructed. Okay, so the task relevant data, including dimensions and result. Okay, so in this attribute oriented induction, the task relevant data focusing is carried out, within which the data relevant for our processing will be generalized. And not only that particular data, along with that, the dimensions. Everything will be retrieved. So data focusing is nothing but the task relevant data, including its dimensions and the result in the initial relation, are retrieved. Second one is attribute removal. Attribute removal is nothing but removing attribute A. If there is large set of data, then in that particular large set of data, the data that is not needed for our, that is no more required for our processing, that will be removed. Okay, this we call as attribute removal process. Okay, so remove attribute A if there is a large set of distinct values for A, but there is no generalization operator on A, or A's higher level concepts are expressed in terms of other attributes. So there are the cases here an attribute A is considered, and if the removal process is going to be applied to that particular attribute A, two conditions should be kept in mind. If A does not contain any generalization operator, if it does not contain any generalization operator, then there is no need for us to maintain it. So if it does not have any generalization operator, you are going to remove it. And if A's higher level concepts are expressed in other attributes, or if at all, the higher level concepts, that is nothing but if there are the A is not possible to be expressed in other terms of attributes, then you don't need that. So that is why you are going to remove that particular attribute. In that way, there are two ways of removing attributes which are not needed for the processing. So in that way, you are going to reduce the size of the data to your level, to your context. Next, then the next principle is attribute generalization. Generalization, if there are a large set of distinct values for A and there exists a set of generalization operators on A, then select an operator and generalize it. So, as obvious, like the previous case, if there are distinct values for the attribute that we have selected in the previous case, consider another attribute A. If there are large set of distinct values that are stored in the A, if they and in those particular set of values, one set of operators are generalization operators. Then what do? You take an operator and generalize the data A, the data that is existing in A. When you apply the generalization, whatever the result is obtained, based on that generalization process, that result is kept and remaining thing is eliminated. Next, attribute threshold control. So attribute generalization is nothing but in this particular generalization, if the generalization is applied, this particular use of the generalization operator to generalize an attribute value within a tuple or a rule, in the working relation, it will make the rule cover more than or more of the original data tuples. Thus, generalizing the concept represents. Okay, both this attribute removal method and the attribute generalization, both are applied if there is a large data set and with distinct values. For this particular attribute here, if there is large data set and if there are distinct values, then only we are going to apply this. Because how large the data set, it will be depending on the application that we are using. If it is large data set and if there are distinct values, then only we are going to apply attribute removal and attribute generalization. You should keep that in mind. And the next one is attribute threshold control. Generally, there are many possible ways to control the generalization process. Okay. So how do you control this generalization process? What are the possible ways to control this generalization process? Those control process is known as attribute threshold control is one method, and the generalized relation threshold control. These two are the methods that are used to control the generalization process. See? Okay, how that generalization is done? First one is attribute generalization or attribute threshold control. You can also say attribute generalization threshold control. So what does it do? Either sets one generalization threshold for all the attribute threshold. You can say rule, you can say here, or limit, you can say. So here attribute threshold control, what does it do is, it will either set one generalization threshold for all the attribute, or it will set one threshold for each attribute. Whatever the attribute that is there, for each attribute, one particular threshold control will be given, or all the attributes will include one threshold control. We'll have to follow. If the number of distinct values in an attribute is greater than the threshold value, and further the attribute removal or attribute generalization should be performed. If the threshold value or the number of values that are existing in the distinct values that are existing in that particular attribute is greater than the threshold value, then you have to apply this. What attribute removal or attribute generalization process should be performed. Okay. Generally, any data mining system, it will typically have this particular amount ranging from 2 to 8. This is the 2 to 8 is the general data mining attribute threshold value. Okay. This is a default attribute threshold value, you can say. It will be ranging from 2 to 8. Next one is the second technique is generalized relation threshold control. Generalized relation, what does it do? It will set a threshold for the generalized relation. That is, if the number of tuples or the distinct tuples in the generalization is greater than the threshold, it is based on the tuples, whereas it is on the attribute, but here it is based on the tuples. If the number of tuples in the generalized relation is greater than the threshold, then what do we do? Further generalization should be performed. So it should not be greater than the threshold. If it is less than the threshold, no further generalization is possible. If it is greater than the threshold, you have to perform the generalization process. Okay. Until when? And this generalization threshold control the final relation or rule of the size. This final relation or the rule size is based on the threshold value. If the threshold, the number of tuples are not greater than the threshold control or threshold value, then that particular generalization process is stopped there itself. No further generalization. Okay. Usually the range for this particular general threshold control will be 10 to 30. Or it can be set by the expert of the who is going to do this particular process. Okay, here as it is 2 to 8, but here the usual value will be 10 to 30. Okay, I think we can stop here before we go for attribute oriented induction. If there are any doubts for you, you can ask me. Do you have any doubts? If I further continue, is it possible for you? We have to discuss about an algorithm, we have to discuss about an example, then we'll go further. If you don't have any doubts, we can proceed. I think it is the time for you to go for next class. If you don't have any doubts, you can stop it here. Who is roll number 53?